Hello, Fred Field. Yeah, I knew that's what you meant, Cage. So I'm going to ask if you're still here. I'm thinking that you are, since you just made that comment a second ago. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in again. Yeah, I must have rattled somebody's cage. So maybe we should just get to the point and start talking about Kylie Rodney, huh? I bet that name is going to jog another disturbance with the interwebs. Man, let me just say, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Am I leaning over? No, I'm not. I swear I'm not. I'm going to sit straight on. It's crazy, these cameras. So, yeah. Did I finish my thing even? All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Please hit your like button if you don't mind. Like, share, subscribe, all that good crap. Okay. Etc., 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 as dear Hal Sparks loves to say, and he cracks me up with that every time. So, Fred, let's talk about Kylie. We barely talked about her at all before my stream got cut off. And it's just you and me here, it looks like. And I know that you always want to talk about Kylie. I always want to talk about Kylie. Kylie's why I made my channel. We are 3 days short of having the 3-year anniversary of her disappearance. So let me just read, as I wait for a response, what artificial intelligence has to say about dear Ms. Rodney. Are you ready? Kylie Rodney was a 16-year-old girl from Truckee, California, who went missing on August 6, 2022, after attending a party at the Prosser family campground in Tahoe National Forest. National Forest. Key words right there. And man, the FBI file is so thick on someone who just, got drunk at a party in the woods and drove off the road accidentally. Her disappearance sparked a massive 2-week search effort involving multiple law enforcement agencies, every single one of them completely inept, right? Including the FBI, along with various volunteers. And none of them could find her right there under their feet. And then they had the creepy AFPI photographer dirtbag with his drone flying overhead. I'm sure he worked for a modeling agency, right, Fred? We have a college girl working and receiving for summer, right? Yeah, you mentioned that. And she is, please do go on. August 5th, 2022, Kylie is last seen on surveillance footage around 6 p.m., according to CBS News. So it's funny that they blame it on CBS News, since we all think that that is not Kylie, that it's scammy. She attends a party at the Prosser family campground that evening. August 6, 2022, Kylie's phone last pings near Prosser Lake at 12:33 a.m. She is last seen around 12:30 a.m. at the campground party. She is reported missing at 7 p.m. So if your teenage girl was missing from a party and her phone hadn't pinged since basically midnight, don't you think you might be reporting her missing before 7 at night? That's a really long time. I've told you guys the story of when my teenage boy went missing after going to a graduation party a few years ago. And when he wasn't home by 9 in the morning, I was getting a little frantic. I was going to go show up at one of his best friend's houses to see if he might have spent the night there. But since he wasn't responding to my messages, I texted the mom and she said, yes, he's here. And that's a boy. And that's graduation, You kind of expect that. He was 18. Kylie was 16. I mean, yeah, it was a quote unquote graduation party, but she was like a 3-year grad that skipped a grade or something. I mean, she was just young to be at a high school party in the woods with evil freaks and creepy old men, according to Scammy, right? Like she was scared. She said so. She was scared. It was scary. Billy says, "Hey, you're back." A criminology major turning her onto Kylie and Ninja. Oh, awesome. Awesome. August 21st, 2022, Adventures with Purpose, a volunteer dive team, finds Kylie's silver Honda CRV upside down in Prosser Creek Reservoir with a body inside. Upside down in water that was not really deep enough for her CRV to do a somersault in. But, you know, that's how they could try to explain away why no one saw it, was because the undercarriage is dark, whereas the roof of it would have been shiny since it was silver. August 23rd, 2022, authorities confirmed the body found in the reservoir is Kylie Rodney. But why did they already put their handprints all over the door and their steering wheel while pulling it out of the car when they didn't even know if it was her car yet, and they're already messing up the DNA evidence, right? Think. October 13th, 2022, the Nevada County Sheriff's Office announces that Kylie's death was accidental, caused by drowning, and there was no evidence of foul play. Drowning. With lungs that were like featherweight. I think her lungs were like 120, 110, 130, something like that. Like basically the size of a small baby, like a toddler's. And if she drowned, they would have been soaking wet and heavy. And if they were hers, they would have been bigger. Let's leave it at that. Investigation and findings. The initial investigation considered the possibility of an abduction, but this was later ruled out. Why would you consider the possibility of an abduction when you're like girl at a party in her own car, doesn't know how to drive because she's a girl, you know? Of course it's a car accident. Like, why would you think abduction? What would make you think that? Maybe because she's smoking hot? Maybe because she was abducted? I don't know. The autopsy confirmed the cause of death as drowning with no water in the lungs and found no evidence of foul play. Well, sure. If you say there's no evidence, then there's no evidence. Toxicology report indicated the presence of nicotine, caffeine, and delta-9 THC. Well, there you have it. It's funny that they don't even mention the ethanol in her system, since it was only the amount of ethanol that decomposition would have created. And they tried to say it was drunk driving. But they don't mention the alcohol in her system. Come on, AI, you can do better than that. Kylie's case generated widespread attention and public concern. The volunteer efforts and the eventual discovery of her car and body brought a tragic end to the search, but also closure to her family and community. That's funny. Deeper dive in the AI mode. Let's see what else it says. I want to know where she went in Mexico and how long was she back for? Here we go. She was last seen 12:30 a.m. August 6th. Her CRV and cell phone were also missing. So there were underwater search teams, not just AWP, that found her 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later. There were other underwater search teams that just didn't know how to find their rear end with both hands, right? Oh, here it says toxicology indicated presence of alcohol and THC in her liver tissue. But why wouldn't you say the level of the alcohol in her liver tissue? 1 year later, in August 2023, 1 year after her disappearance, news reports reflected on the case and the community's support during the search efforts. Idiots. So yeah, I lost my stream. I didn't know that anybody was paying attention to little old me in the corner here. Was it that I said transporting too many times, or little e or little t, or kids, or buying and selling? This is just such gross stuff. Like, we shouldn't have to be bringing it up on these little tiny channels. It should be getting taken care of, like wiped out, just like the way Donnie always said he would, the way he promised his MAGA base that he was the only one in all of the elite that gave a damn about the safety of the kids. He was going to put an end to all of this madness. And then you find out that he's the center of the madness, in my opinion. Okay, in the Lord of the Flies novel, Scammy brought up kids were tortured and unalived, by the way. Thank you for bringing that up, Billy Darling. I don't think I read the book. I think I only saw one of the movies, and it's probably the more recent one. Her last name is Smith, but claims no relation, LOL. No relation to Stephen Smith? I was thinking the other day how close Rodney is to Bondi, and I just thought, well, that's interesting. There's a little coincidence, you know, Pamela Jo Bondi and Kylie Rodney. Pamela Jo, the AG, you know, they like to call her General Bondi, as if. Yeah, you're right, Fred. Billy Darling says, where are all her Mexico pics from her socials? Never there. Well, probably all of her socials were scrubbed. And maybe she didn't have socials, but she was a teenager. Come on. And where's all the freaking videos from the party, of all the videos of the people making videos, right? And then you had that whole, what was that? Be Real. Remember the whole Be Real thing where you take a photo with your cell phone, like you take something in front of you and a selfie simultaneously. Then everybody would post their Be Reals. Why didn't we see everybody's Be Reals? They all did that, according to Scammy. And then one of the people that was up on the stage with Dear Donnie at his inauguration was also boots on the ground looking for Kylie Rodney. And then remember the only Democrat last week or the week before, when Dear Leader was like, oh, people, like, are you still talking about that creep little E? Let's not talk about that anymore. Who was the only Democrat who said, yeah, good idea, let's move on, let's not talk about little E anymore? Come on, that's old news. Yeah, the Democrat who had a condominium up there in Truckee. Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi was the only Democrat who's like, yeah, I agree with Donnie. Yeah, we need to quit talking about this little E stuff. That wasn't weird, was it? Not at all. Just like it wasn't weird when her hubby had been attacked by a guy with a hammer in his underpants. I mean, that was so weird. And I remember bringing that up on my channel and somebody attacked me for it. And I was just like, why so sensitive? Like, I'm just asking questions. Like, I didn't know nothing about it. All I knew was that Nancy Pelosi's husband had been attacked when he was in his underpants by a guy with a hammer in his own residence. And it just seemed a little nutty. Just a wee bit nutty, huh? Let's see what else. I want those Mexico pics. Anna Bees, hey girl. Billy, Fred, everyone. Nice to see you here. So nice to see you. Always, all of you. But then the men would be held accountable and their woman wouldn't want that. The novel is very detailed. Oh, Billy, darling, maybe I should read it. I don't really want to, but maybe I should. Our worker is a Smith. No relation, she says. Right. I mean, it's not like it's one of the most common last names in the world, right? MZ. MZ. And oh yeah, Mr. Z, the Facebook guy, Meta dude. I'm just calling him Meta dude. So yeah, isn't that weird that somebody that was boots on the ground just happened to be standing behind Donnie? So let me just run with this crazy freaking theory, you guys. Like, it's completely made up. It's completely fabricated. It has nothing to do with anything. It's 100% fantasy. What if somebody wanted Ms. Rodney and they said, I'll give you X amount of dollars if you deliver her to me? And then Scammy was like, yes, please. And then they didn't ever want to have to give her back. They didn't want to ever have to be done with her. So then what do you do? I mean, seriously, if you don't want people to keep looking for this missing person, you need to make out like they're deceased. It's over. Like, you can quit looking for them because you're never going to find anything. And yeah, boots on the ground, right? That's what I believe, Anna Bees. I believe that he was boots on the ground and then it got scrubbed. It was like he was acting like he was just a regular guy, like registering on the Caltopo and everything. Like, yeah, I'm just helping look for this 16-year-old. It's like, dude, you're a billionaire. You shouldn't be hanging out with normal people. You can get abducted yourself and held for ransom. You could get put in a tunnel system yourself, dude. You get put in your own tunnel system. Get it locked up and get the key thrown away. I don't know. All these billionaires have underground bunkers. They do. I remember when I lived in Seattle, which was a very long time ago, the Gates family had an underground mansion right there on Lake Washington. Yes, they did. Anyway, where was I? The tunnels. I want to talk more about the photographer too. That scumbag SF photographer dude who just like says he showed up on the Rodney's property. They have a missing teenager, and the very next day they bump into this creepy dude on their property, and they're like, oh, here's the key to everything. Let's be best friends now. Like, really? Your 16-year-old goes missing. Creepy dude is on your property. Wouldn't you more likely be suspicious of him rather than make best friends with him and give him the key to your gate? It's very, very suspicious. Very suspicious. And then I remember that video that Zanime made where she made fun of anybody who was suspicious of anything. And isn't that like the MAGA way? Make fun of, just try to bully and humiliate people. Photographer, private investigator, exactly. SF investigates. He was there, Johnny on the spot. And such a sleazeball. And then he did all the rounds of all the YouTube channels. Remember, he just wouldn't shut up. Why did he find it his responsibility? And then what was it, like a year ago that he did the same thing and happens to mention that he's been on the Rodney's payroll every day ever since Kylie went missing for 2 years, back then a year ago. First of all, you're not a very good spy to be sharing that information on the YouTube. Second of all, I don't know that we can believe anything you say. And third of all, why would they keep you on their payroll, sir? Be right back. Have to run to paint store. XOXO. Well, I probably won't be on that long, Billy. I was just coming back on since I had lost the stream. And I pretty much had said everything I wanted to say in that video, but I wanted to come back on and say hello and goodbye to my people here. So I appreciate you guys being here. And I just wanted to hang out. It's Sunday afternoon at about 4 o'clock, and we're coming up on the anniversary of the person's tragedy that basically brought us all together. I think everybody in here right now is like a OG from the Rodney case, right? So what if she's been in slavery? What if she's been in white slavery for the last 3 years? That person, Amy Bradley, was definitely in white slavery for at least a few years. I don't know of any confirmed sightings of her for a handful of years. So she might not be around anymore, because that was 27 years ago that she went missing. And then you get into the whole thing with reproduction. Like, if somebody is a slave in that industry, it's entirely possible that they could get knocked up accidentally or on purpose. It seemed that Amy Bradley probably had children from one of the last sightings of her. She said something to these creeps that were corralling her about seeing the kids, and she got really excited. She was like, "Oh, can we see the kids?" It was in a bathroom somewhere around Aruba or Acapulco or some of those places. The tourists that ran into her went into great detail about their conversation in a bathroom, and it was really creepy. And then there were even photographs of Amy Bradley that showed up in some sleaze websites. And it didn't look that much like her because so much time had passed, and she had really short hair when it was up to her how she wore her hair, and her hair had grown out super long, and she was really sporty and kind of all-American goody two-shoes looking almost, when she had control over her appearance. And here these weird photos on the internet were of her being a lady of the night, shall we say, and extremely, I don't even want to say sexy, because raunchy is a better word. Really raunchy photographs that were almost like rated X type of stuff. And I think that was her. So, 27 years of that type of slavery, she might not be living anymore. And she may be. And, if you're going to kidnap a person and hold them captive for years and use them as your slave and do with them whatever you want, and maybe even have them reproduce, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to keep them plied with substances that'll scramble their brains so they can't remember who they are, or if they did escape, they wouldn't know where to go. You want to brainwash them. You basically want to like MK Ultra them, right? Does it seem to you like a lot of these shootings lately might be people that were MK Ultra'd? Am I jumping all over the place, or am I right on track with this? the problem with trying to figure out gaslighting is that it makes you sound nuts and it makes you feel nuts because it's so freaking insane, right? So I was going to read something to you, something else from the internet. Let me see. Let me clear my throat. Sorry. I don't even know. I really don't know. This stuff is so crazy. So I wanted to mention South Carolina because that was another location where Carlos and Charlie's had a restaurant. Not just South Carolina, but Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, where Micah Micah Miller. It's so annoying. I can't remember a name that I know so well. Where Micah Miller lived when she went missing. JP Miller just married his mistress recently. Susie, the one whose husband, Chris Skinner, passed away not that long ago when his wheelchair took him into the swimming pool and he was unattended. Because, yeah, you always have people in wheelchairs by swimming pools unattended. But then there's the videotape of it. There's the videotape of it just going right into the drink. So Susie is now Miller. Susie Skinner married JP Miller. You know, and maybe one of the reasons they got married is so that she can't testify against him. But remember her now deceased, her previous husband, Chris Skinner, had confronted JP Miller maybe 2 weeks before he passed away and told JP to stay away from his wife and kids. And then he drowns. And then a year later, the horrible insanity happened with Micah. Man, that was so gross. And then JP, it turned out him and his homies had all kinds of shenanigans going on financially and with airplanes and laundering and rugs. It all goes together. It all, you know, when you've got the transporting of substances and of people and the laundering, the best way for the transporting is airplanes and shoreline, especially if it going offshore is going to a different country. So, you know, Myrtle Beach is right there on the shore of South Carolina. It's not that far to go down to like the Bahamas. I mean, all of those islands, you know, we think of them as a tropical paradise, and sure, parts of them are, but they're also extremely, extremely dangerous. They're completely controlled by cartels. So we haven't talked about the Taylor Casey case in a long time. I've brought it up a couple of times recently. When she went missing from the Bahamas, and the Bahamas had been like on high alert for this type of activity and crime. And how sad for her family and how hard it's been for them to get attention to the case, especially since she's Black and especially since she's trans. It's just nuts. But remember the stories about like the two Black guys that had like the walkie-talkies and the black t-shirt, black baseball cap, and they were like on the beach and they were watching her and approaching her. I mean, doesn't that sound like they're moving in on a kill, basically? I just can't help but think, with all this like Project 2025 Handmaid's Tale type of stuff, that could easily be what we're seeing. And I'm not saying definitively that that's what happened to Kylie Rodney or that's what happened to Natalie Holloway or any of these folks. I'm just saying that it's entirely possible. And why are they freaking out so much with the little e-files? It's because all the people in the little e-files, the perpetrators, the ones paying money for this type of victimization, the elite. What a disgusting market, if you can call it that. What a disgusting mindset for people to be living in, to want that, to have that be desirable. You know, it's really pathetic. It really is like the people who have everything and they're just never satisfied. So they want what they can't have. They want what's taboo. They want what's illegal. Oh, yeah. Let me keep up with your comments and then maybe we will wrap up because my brain can only take so much. It's just so nauseating. It's so horrifying. Let's see. Oh, gross. Anna B says, what was the name of the church? The church that JP was part of in Solid Rock. Oh no, Black Rock, Solid Rock, Blackstone, Blackwater, Black Cube. Because yeah, I remember it because we have a Solid Rock. There's a Solid Rock church on Interstate 75, right around Lebanon, Ohio. And it's always felt really creepy. There used to be a big statue of the man, Jesus, like this in the water. Like there's this nice big man-made lake and fountain in front of the church, like right on the Interstate 75. And it was just like from the shoulders up. And it was Jesus with like the nice long hair and the facial hair and the robe. And that thing got struck by lightning. I want to say it was about 15 years ago. Let me see what year it was. And then when they built it back, they made it so much worse. And I'm like, can you not take that as a sign from the man upstairs when it's struck by lightning? And it was destroyed. It was absolutely destroyed. Let's see. Jesus statue in Lebanon, Ohio, struck by lightning. Yes, a large Jesus statue at Solid Rock Church in Monroe, Ohio, near Lebanon, was indeed struck by lightning and destroyed by fire in 2010. Didn't I say about 15 years ago? So nice when I'm right, since a lot of time I'm not. The statue nicknamed Touchdowns Jesus, right, because he's like this. And so I forgot about that. Everybody called it Touchdown Jesus. Was a prominent landmark along Interstate 75. The lightning strike caused a fire that consumed the 62-foot tall statue, which was primarily made of styrofoam and fiberglass over a steel frame. So it was June 14th, 2010. And it also damaged an amphitheater at the church. That's interesting. I did not know that. And then the Solid Rock Church replaced the statue with a new one in 2012 called Lux Mundi, which means light of the world. The new statue was constructed with fire retardant materials to prevent a similar incident. the new one is not nearly as nice. It's very, it's just like a very Roman looking Jesus, just standing very stiff and boring. I like, they don't even have the new one here. Let me see. If I type in there, new Jesus statue in Lebanon, Ohio. New Jesus statue in Monroe, Ohio. Oh, that's funny. They still have the old one, but this is what the new one looks like. If you can see this, like I said, it's very like stiff and boring looking. You can see that. I mean, it's a pretty statue, but it's not as artsy and kinetic and cool as the old one. There, you can kind of see that. It's probably like 40 feet tall. And let's see if I can show you the old one. Here's the old one, if you can see it. So the arms are like straight up, and you can just kind of see the from the chest up. So it's like he's coming out of the water, whereas the other one is like he's walking on the water. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, the walking on the water thing. Let's see. Oh, they have pictures of it on fire even. So maybe you can see it better there. Not with that glare, you can't. You can Google it. Jesus statue, Solid Rock. So it's the same church, Solid Rock. I don't know if it's actually affiliated, but it's the same name as the one that J.P. Miller was affiliated with. Let me ask if it will tell us. I think I've asked before. Is Solid Rock Church in Lebanon, Ohio, connected to Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? It doesn't really say. It's Monroe though. Let's see. Solid Rock Church scandal. Is that going to talk about J.P. Miller or something else? Oh yeah, it's all about J.P. Miller. Numerous allegations and controversy surround Solid Rock Church and its leadership, particularly involving Pastor John Paul Miller. Let's see. Is Solid Rock Church from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, connected to Solid Rock Church in Mason, Ohio? It says no. Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach and Solid Rock Church in Ohio are not directly connected or part of the same organization, according to a Reddit thread. But that Reddit thread could be written by JP himself, right? There are separate churches. They are separate churches with the same name. Many churches across the country use the name Solid Rock, but they are often independent entities, according to a Reddit thread. Interesting. How many locations does the Rock Church have? So Rock Church is a different one, and that's a mega church. 5 campuses in San Diego. All righty. Enough with the artificial intelligence. Let's try to have some actual intelligence, right? And I apologize again for my teeth with the rubber bands and how it makes me talk funny. And then tomorrow morning, they're going to put the braces on. I will try to come on and at least say hi in the evening. My guess is that it's going to be really hard to do that, but I'll try. And then I'll try to do an actual live on Tuesday. So you can count on that. Definitely count on the actual live on Tuesday, and I'll do my best to try to come on to at least a small live tomorrow night, or maybe even do a pre-recorded if I'm in too much pain to face a conversation. Can't focus, right? I don't even know if I'll be able to talk or what. Let's see. Little T plane. Yeah. The Lolita Express that Donnie screwed Melania on for the first time that they rolled in the hay together. Sorry to be so lewd and disgusting, but sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. Like, how disgusting is that to have a president of our country who screwed a model on Little E's airplane called Lolita Express, and now he's married to her, or at least they have a marriage license. I don't think they're actually married. I mean, doesn't seem like she wants anything to do with him. Does it? Is it just me? Definitely Little T is freaking out about people talking about Little E files. That sounds crazy about the statue. I thought it was so crazy when the statue was struck by lightning. I always really liked the statue. To me, it was always very electrifying. It was very powerful because of the stance. And then when it got struck by lightning, like, I thought it was funny. Like, I thought that's a direct message from God, is it not? It's not like it's getting struck by lightning, to use that metaphor, right? It didn't just strike it, it set it on fire. Like, it makes you think that maybe there was some kind of scandal going on with that church. 2010. Happy Sunday on an August day. Hey, Patricia, nice to see you. Trump got so booed in a wrestling arena. These were his people. Thank you for bringing that up, Patricia. That was yesterday. And I think he ran with his tail between his legs and hid out at a golf course where he could cheat some more and try to look like Tiger Woods, some kind of champ, right? That's his thing. Patricia Moss says, I almost felt bad for him. I know. It's like anybody but him, you would feel bad for them. Almost anybody but him. But he deserves way worse than that. When are they just going to tar and feather, right? I probably shouldn't say that. I'm joking. But when is enough enough? When can the people take back our democracy? When can they just do the freaking hand count of the ballots and get this ridiculous, illegitimate administration out of here? Out of here. Just go. Just like he said to Little E when he kept stealing his slaves, you're out of here. You're out of here. Right? Can't we say that to Donnie $2? You're out of here. You keep taking our brains. You keep taking our hearts, our souls, our dreams, our savings, everything. Wow, Patricia, I haven't heard that. Oh, you didn't hear about that, Anna Bees? It was yesterday. He went to some wrestling match, and man, did they boo him. It was great. Yeah, I felt so bad for him. Not exactly like she said, right? Exactly like Patricia said. Yeah. He's just a scumbag. So he's hell-bent on trying to get a convicted child transporter to lie for him and to say, well, she said so and we believe what she said, so what's the problem? I say so. He's such a freaking dictator, man. He thinks no one else's thoughts, opinions, nothing matters except for him, right? Nothing. None of us matter except for him. Like, do his kids even matter? It certainly doesn't seem like it. Oh my goodness, you guys, there was this videotape that somebody put up. I'll try to find a link to it and put it in the description, of someone falling down a flight of stairs fatally. And the person doing the falling and the stairs looked a lot like Donnie's ex-wife. But they weren't saying anything like that. They were not saying that at all. But I think they were. It was really wild. So that was only 3 years ago. That was July 14th of 2022. JISM had her sentencing on June 28th of 2022. And JISM and Donnie's ex were very, very good friends, remember? They don't want you to know that, but they were very, very good friends, so they knew a lot. So right after Jiz gets sentenced, then the ex-wife has a little fatal accident the night before, or the day before those depositions. And then I think when those depositions got postponed indefinitely, I think they did them. I think they rescheduled them pretty quickly. It seems like I can't really find a definitive answer, but it seems like that might have been depositions that I know of that were taken in August. So just, a few weeks later. And that would make sense that they're like, sure, you had a family emergency, we'll reschedule them a few weeks out. I mean, that's not really that long for the kids, because it was Don Jr. and Ivanka that had to testify in those depositions, and Don Sr. So for him, for it to be his ex-wife, yeah, a couple of weeks he might be fine. But if that's your mom and she falls to her demise like that, it's going to take more than a few weeks before you get your bearings back. I mean, come on. Anyway, the end of July was also when Sheriff Wayne Wu got sworn in to be the Placer County Sheriff. And then I think about 10 days later, I want to say that was like July 26th of 2022. And then August 6th was when Kylie went missing in Placer County from a national park. Wait, no, the national park was in Nevada County. She lived in Placer County, right? I think that's how it goes. But yeah, we need to talk more about Kylie Rodney. I mean, especially if her demise is a farce, if there's any possibility that she could be a survivor somewhere. Again, I don't want to like muddy up the case with, if somebody should be convicted for taking her life, I don't want to muddy up the case with hypothesizing that maybe she's being trafficked. But they started talking about her being trafficked within minutes, it seemed, of her going missing, right? It was almost like she was being trafficked. And then you had the whole thing with that dodgy Tony douchebag and the things that he posted. So let's talk about Upchurch too, because Upchurch has always been very outspoken on this case. And he was probably still is getting sued by Kylie's biological father and her maternal grandmother. Like, why would the biological father be teamed up with her mom's dad? That's weird. Like, why wouldn't the mom have something to do with that? I mean, the whole case is just mind-boggling. I've never bought any of the crap. I mean, I probably bought pieces of it here and there for a little bit, but overall, I've never really bought into any of it. It all just seems like a crock. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Patricia, about the getting booed at the wrestling arena. That was pretty good, huh? Patricia, I haven't heard that. I was sleeping or working yesterday. And Patricia says, OMG, Nancy Pelosi. Actually, yeah, I can see it. Oh, are you talking about when I was saying about Nancy Pelosi? That was a while back. Nancy Pelosi saying, yeah, let's not talk about little E anymore. It was like she gave herself away. Come on. Like everyone's like, we're not going to quit talking about it. Except Nancy's like, yeah, I vote for that. Let's quit talking about it. These people are so stupid. Like they don't realize how freaking dumb they are. I was working too, Anna. I missed it too. I'm working tonight too. Fred, damn work. I know, isn't it inconvenient? Always taking us away from our lives. Double meaning, LOL. Always taking us away from the YouTubing, right? Anything is possible, but I don't think she is still alive. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Exactly. And that I think is the more important point, is that she might have not have been victimized in that way, although it seems entirely possible. But there are many people that are victimized in that way. And those people that were victimized by little E and by Jizz and by people affiliated with them, that needs to be dealt with. I mean, you look at Jean-Luc Brunel, the guy who got Epsteined, a year after Epstein got Epsteined? When did Jean-Luc Brunel? So he was like the French version of little E. I want to say it was in 2023. Jean-Luc Brunel. No, February 19th, 2022. Okay, so that was just like 6 months before Jizz. He was a French model scout. He gained prominence by leading the international modeling agency Karen Models and founded MC Squared Model Management with financing by Jeffrey E. So remember, in my theory, little E and little T were business partners. We know that little T owned the beauty pageants, and the beauty pageants and the modeling agencies, I think, were just hunting grounds and fronts. But yeah, that's good to know that it was February of 2022. Because wasn't Jizz arrested in 2021? Let's see. When was Ghislaine Maxwell arrested? She was arrested July 2nd of 2020. So guess who was still president? It kind of seems like he changed his mind. Because why would she be getting arrested by the FBI when Donnie's president? Huh? Crazy freaks. Yeah, when you play with fire, you get burned. Or what do they say? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Right? That another reason I think she's alive. Also, why did they have to fake the autopsy? They would not have to fake it if she was truly deceased. Also, the driver, he came up from the water very strange. The diver. It says driver, but you meant diver. He came up from the water very strange. Right. The way Nick Wren, the guy with the Navy experience, the diver for the AWP, He looked like he was going to vomit and cry. That was very weird. But yeah, it shouldn't be so hard to find. I'm going to just call bullcrap. If her car drove in the water the night of the party, they would not have had that much trouble finding it, period. Like, end of story. Give me a freaking break, yeah, losers. But this is what's so crazy. When these gaslighters are in positions of authority, whatever they say, people accept it as the gospel. Except for El Presidente, because he's just talking so much crazy talk, nobody's buying a damn thing he says. It's almost like if he says it, you know it's not true, right? I mean, that man is just hanging himself. He's doing exactly what lawyers try to facilitate witnesses or perpetrators. They try to facilitate when they're on the stands giving their testimony. They try to just give them enough rope to hang themselves. So they try to ask open-ended questions and then just let them talk. And man, Donnie Two Dolls has been hanging himself with his words. He just keeps on chatty Cathy yapping away, just hanging himself worse and worse. And my only hope is that all of where we've gotten at this point today, August 3rd of 2025, what is it, like 7 months into this administration, 6.5 months in? My only hope is that they just keep letting him go down the tubes so that there's more charges stacked against him, so they don't have to worry about anything other than him getting his comeuppance for all the freaking crimes that he's committed. Because he basically just keeps outing himself. Like when he was talking about Virginia Guffrey, I think is the right way to say it. And he was talking about little E and how, well, I didn't like when he was stealing my people, whether they're spa or not spa. So is a spa people, is that like slang or code for street hustler? A masseuse, a spa people. I mean, as if there's a spa people. I'm just kind of being tongue in cheek. It was really, really disgusting and tragic for him to be referring to a 16-year-old kid as spa. I don't want him stealing my people, whether they're spa or not spa. What could spa stand for? Like special person? I don't know. Could the letters stand for something? Special person, adulteress. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. Anyway, I'm going to read the rest of your comments and then maybe wrap up, because we've been on for another hour almost already. Thanks so much for hanging out, you guys. You're the best. So nice to see you. Yeah. The way Nick Wren came up out of the water, and then the way Doug got threatened, and then the way Doug went and warned Upchurch. Why did one of the divers come knocking on Upchurch's door saying what he said to him? Right. Exactly. Right. All the way to Tennessee, because I think AWP was from the West Coast. I think. I'm not sure where they're from, but I want to say they were from the West Coast. Is anyone talking about Jizz getting moved to the Texas Country Club prison? So, yeah, we haven't really talked about that so much yet. But, yeah, isn't that nice that she got moved? I mean, whether she's in prison or not in prison, like, she is marked. There, to quote El Presidente about little E, is that he said there were a lot of people that wanted him deceased. So really, Donnie, did you talk to them? Were you one of them? After having a talk with little T's attorney, I know that whole thing is just freaking nuts. A 9-hour little chat with one of Donnie's most trusted attorneys, who's also besties with her attorney, and then not recorded and allegedly not recorded. I mean, I'm sure they recorded it. They would have to, just for themselves. Because, yeah, you always want to listen to things a bunch of times because you miss things. Like, they recorded it. They're just not admitting it. Yes, Luke Beasley, Ben Midas are talking about Jizzy a lot today. Thank you, Patricia Moss. Yes, they are. So I mentioned, I think in the video that I did earlier today that I lost the stream, how Katie Kirk and Katie Fang, man, those two reporters are really kicking some butt. And yeah, I'm very appreciative for all of the channels, big and small, that talk about this stuff. I really am. And I'm really appreciative of you guys being here, especially when I got these little critics in my community posts. But it's funny because not a lot of people even look at community posts, let alone take the time to comment. So that's kind of sus right there, isn't it? Donnie, 2 weeks being booed. Yeah, Donnie Two Dolls. That's funny. It changed it to 2 weeks. By his own wrestling people. Nothing could devastate our dear leader more than that. Yeah, you know, he just lives in a fantasy land. Like, he just tunes it out. He'll literally like hear it as cheering. He's like, you know, the emperor in his new clothes. Like, he's just so delusional. He will not see what he doesn't want to see. He'll convince himself that, you know, they're booing for Taylor Swift or something, right? He's like, oh, is Taylor behind me? Yeah, she must have been. They must have been thinking of her. They were looking at me, but they were thinking of her, right? All right, I'm going to wrap up. Lovely to see you twice in a day. And again, pray for my braces tomorrow. But no, I always want to say, if that's my biggest problem, how lucky am I to get my teeth taken care of and get them straightened. It is for medical purposes only. I want you guys to know it's not a vanity thing. I mean, not at my age, man. I could have gotten them when I was a teenager, but I thought, no, not unless it's medically necessary. Now it's gotten to the point that it's medically necessary. So, all right. What else? Eat your protein, drink your water, stay hydrated, eat your veggies, and get fresh air and sunshine. Justice for Kylie Rodney, thanks a million. And yeah, we're going to keep talking about Kylie, especially this week with it being the anniversary. I never want to not be talking about Kylie Rodney. So again, love and light. Thanks a million and see you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.